When we react, it's often an immediate instinctive response to a situation. It's driven by emotions, impulse, and external pressure. This is the Voice Room podcast, where we explore how to speak with clarity, connect with confidence, and communicate with purpose. Wherever you are, thank you for joining me. Hello there, and welcome back to the Voice Room podcast. I'm your host, Karina Tien. And today we are diving into an essential communication skill that can change the way you interact with others. That is, responding versus reacting in conversations. Now, you might be thinking, aren't responding and reacting the same thing? Well, not exactly. The difference might seem subtle, but it can have a huge impact on your communication and relationships.
Hey there! Your voice is your power, and you can train it. Join me in the Voice Room Masterclass 2026, a live, guided program to help you refine your tone, clarity, and confidence. The intake starts in March, so visit thevoiceroom.com/masterclass to save your spot. Now, back to the show.
Why is it important to understand that difference and how we can train ourselves to respond rather than react in your daily conversations? Let's start with the basics. What's the difference between responding and reacting? When we react, it's often an immediate instinctive response to a situation. It's driven by emotions, impulse, and external pressure. Reacting is usually quick, and it doesn't always involve deep thought or considerations. It is like a knee-jerk reaction, something that happens before we even have the time to pause and reflect. For example, someone might say something that triggers you, and before you know it, you blurt out a response. One that's probably not well thought out. You might even regret it afterward because it was driven by your emotions in the moment rather than by clear, thoughtful intention. On the other hand, when you respond, you take a moment to consider what's being said, how it makes you feel, and what's the best course of action is. Responding is a more conscious choice. It is thoughtful, measured, and controlled. It allows you to engage in a conversation in a way that leads to productive outcomes. Here is a simple example to illustrate. Reacting will sound like this. I can't believe you said that. How dare you? Responding will sound like this. I'm not sure I agree with you, but let's take a moment to talk through our differences. Notice how reacting is much more emotionally charged and less constructive, while responding gives space for reflection and dialogue. So, why does responding instead of reacting matter so much? Well, first, reacting often escalates situations. Think about how many times you have seen or experienced a conversation where two persons are simply reacting to each other. One person says something and the other person take it personally, responding with emotion, and then the cycle repeats. This is a recipe for conflict, misunderstanding, and frustration. But when you choose to respond, you have the power to de-escalate tense situations. A thoughtful response can calm down a heated exchange, create space for better understanding, and ultimately build stronger relationships. Let me give you a real-life scenario. Picture this. You are in a meeting at work, and your boss criticizes your recent project. You are immediately upset. Maybe you feel like they are being too harsh or unfair. The impulse might be to react defensively, to interrupt, justify your actions, or even snap back. But what if, instead of reacting, You pause, take a deep breath, and responded thoughtfully. Maybe you will say something like, I appreciate your feedback. I see where you're coming from, and I would love to discuss how I can improve next time. In this case, responding thoughtfully helps you maintain control of the situation and shows emotional intelligence. Responding rather than reacting allows you to make better decisions. If you are always reacting out of emotion, you might say something you will regret or make a choice that you don't truly believe in. Responding, on the other hand, gives you the space to make decisions that align with your values, objectives, and long-term goals. Okay, so now you understand the difference between reacting and responding and why it matters. But how can you train yourself to respond more often instead of reacting? Here are a few practical strategies. Number 1, pause before you speak. One of the easiest ways to shift from reacting to responding is to pause before you say anything. In a heated conversation, take a deep breath, count to 3, and even ask for a moment to think. This will give your brain the time it needs to process what was said and allow you to respond from a place of clarity rather than emotional reactivity. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of immediately honking your horn or swearing, take a deep breath. This pause can help you stay calm and to avoid reaction that might escalate the situation. Number 2, practice active listening. The first step in responding thoughtfully is actually listening. So often, we are waiting for our turn to speak instead of really listening to the other person. When you listen actively, you not only understand their words, but you also understand their feelings and intentions. This allows you to respond in a way that shows empathy and understanding, rather than jumping to conclusions. Here is a tip. Focus on listening to the tone, emotion, and content of what that person is saying, without interrupting or planning your reply while they speak. Number 3, check your emotions. Reacting is often driven by emotions, especially strong emotions like anger, fear, or frustration. Before you speak, check in with yourself. What emotions are you feeling? Are you in a calm, balanced state? Or are your emotions taking over? The more self-aware you are of your emotions, the more control you will have over your responses. Number 4, empathy first. When you take a moment to empathize with the other person, you shift from reaction to response. Empathy allows you to step into the other person's shoe and understand their perspective. Even if you don't agree with them, responding with empathy can help de-escalate tension and lead to more productive conversations. Here's an example. Instead of reacting to a colleague's criticism with defensiveness, you might say, I can see that you're concerned about this issue, and I want to understand more about where you are coming from. Number 5, mind your tone and body language. Even if you're not saying anything, your tone and body language can convey that you are reacting, not responding. Pay attention to how you are communicating non-verbally. Are you crossing your arms? Are you raising your voice? Are you making aggressive eye contact? These physical cues can fuel reactions from others. So stay mindful of your posture and your facial expressions when you are responding. Let's talk through a few more real-life scenarios to see the power of responding instead of reacting. At work, imagine you have been assigned a project and you don't think it's fair or reasonable. Instead of immediately telling your boss, "This is too much, I can't do it," You take a moment to process your feelings. You might then say, I can see how important this project is, but I'm concerned about the timeline. Could we discuss a more feasible approach? In personal relationships, let's say your partner does something that frustrates you. For example, forgetting an important date. Instead of snapping and said, "You never remember anything," you take a breath and say, "I feel hurt when important things are forgotten, and I would love for us to find a way to be more mindful of dates in the future." These scenarios show how responding rather than reacting leads to more constructive, respectful, and effective communication. And that's a wrap on today's episode. The next time you are in a conversation that triggers a strong emotion, I encourage you to pause, reflect, and respond instead of react. Your words have the power to shape your conversations, relationships, and outcomes, so use them wisely. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from a little more intentional communication. And follow us on Instagram at The Voice Room for updates and tips. I'm so excited to see you again in the next episode. Until then, remember, the way you respond is just as important as what you say.